Hey guys, there's a lot of different opinions out there about Football Manager, including things that really should not be subject to opinion, like, I don't know, which attribute is better than which other attribute and all sorts of stuff like that. There's a lot of sort of argumentation that will go on in various forums. There are a lot of people who think that this is right because a certain content creator said so, or because somebody threw together really quickly some sort of test league and looked at this and looked at that and so on and so forth. There is a problem with this, and the problem is something called RNG, the random number generation of Football Manager. Now, this is something that I didn't realize when I first started playing, right? Like many other people, I sort of assumed that the outcome of the game, every individual game, was largely based upon the actual attributes of the players. It's not entirely true. So we're going to go back here to FM Arena, and we're going to go take a look at what's going on. We'll go over here to the screen view. And I'm not sure what happened to me here. Just a second, and we'll get this fixed up so that this looks a little bit better. There I am. This happens sometimes on Arch when things update. It makes all of these windows and everything go crazy in OBS. So it is. So we take a look over here. This is another post here by Zippo. This is about a year, maybe 13 months or so ago. And he says, RNG is something that produces randomness, variability, or luck in digital games. It's especially prominent in games that are like role-playing games, right? That's what the whole thing is. It's all about RNG and trying to min and max so that you can have the ultimate RNG results for yourself. So check this out. He did 2 different tests of a tactic. 4-1-3-2 Extreme Diamond Undervolt 2. In the first test, he tried 5,760 matches, and they wound up with an average of 61.9 points in every season. I think that's out of what did we say, like 40 game matches per season or something like that, with a goal differential of 16.1. And then the second test, they had 59.5 points with a goal differential of 13. That's a pretty big spread, despite the fact that they're looking at 5,760 matches played, right? Some facts, if we take a single test with 320 matches played, the high points, 65.7, the low points, 54.7. The goals scored have a range of almost 12, and the goals conceded with a range of 11, or about 10. Right, and look at the size of the range here. The thing that's incredible about this is that everything else is being very carefully held equal. Like if you look at other posts that this person writes, he talks a lot about trying to hold everything equal using various third-party tools to allow for testing to actually work, because we want to test the match engine. We don't want to look so much at injuries and at random things that happen and all that stuff, right? So if we look at this there, he says, as you can see, if we test tactics for one test for 320 matches, which is what, you get, I don't know, we'll say like 40 matches in the season, right? So you're talking about whatever it is, 8 seasons, something like that. You could hit an average of 54.7 points in the season or 65.7 points. And that's a big difference, right? That's a major difference, right? Again, in our tactic testing league, every player gets 100% boost of conditions and morale before every match. All the teams use the same starting 11 for each match. There's no rotation, no injuries, no transfers, no manager moves, and there's many other things that reduce that part of the RNG. So if you're playing a normal game and you're looking at random number generation and the impact that it has in your game, it can have a huge impact on your game. You might have a tactic that actually works very well but doesn't work well for your team, not because you have poor players, but because you have bad luck. You might have a team that really stinks, but you have good luck. You don't have a whole lot of injuries or whatever, and you end up with a lot more goals scored. I mean, the RNG that we're looking at here is just the match engine. That doesn't even count this other stuff, right? Injuries and all this other stuff. Very interesting. In a normal game, it's possible to get very consistent results with almost no RNG, but to achieve that, your team must be much stronger than your opponents. So you have to be sort of like PSG relative to the Ligue 1 in France. You'd have to be able to win almost 100% of your matches with any possible tactic, which is exactly what that is. And that goes back to how player attributes sort of overwhelm everything else. And so, yeah, that's the cruelty of RNG in Football Manager. Now, that's kind of the theory. But the big question that we have to ask ourselves is like, what does this mean? What does this mean practically? Well, what it means is that, number one, Football Manager can be a really, really frustrating game because you can lose to just about any other team provided that you're more or less equal, right? Again, if you want to have a game where you win all the time, go get like Manchester City and have all the money and buy all the players, and now you always win, right? But there's no fun in that. There's a huge, huge amount of RNG in the game. Number two thing that this will tell us is that save scumming, because of this, works, right? Now, there are those of us who have maybe a somewhat sordid past, who have done some things that we might not be proud of in our Football Manager past, and we can assure you that save scumming indeed does work, and that if you have no morals and if you are, a complete scumbag, you might save scum in every match that you lose so that you always win. And if you do that, you might end up with a huge winning streak of, like 30 or 40 games, take your team from the Dritte Bundesliga to the Erste Bundesliga, to the big one, and start knocking off Bayern Munich and all this other stuff, even though you don't have very good players, right? The reason why that works is because of the heavy RNG. There are people who run around every single year, every time you see a new version of the game, and say, this game's cheating, or, oh, there's something that's completely wrong with Football Manager, right? We shouldn't have this result and all this other stuff. It's just not true. It's not true at all. The game does not cheat. There is no script in the game that says that this team must win, this team must lose. Instead, the RNG is so high in Football Manager that you and I probably don't fully understand it, and it's pretty vicious. This is one of the reasons why anybody who does tactical testing, anybody who's looking at, whether a certain attribute is better than another one, needs to give you more than just a single season, right? We need to be looking at like 100 seasons, and we need to make sure that we're holding everything else constant to really test it against the match engine. If you're not doing that, no matter how good your video is, no matter how good you are at writing, if you're not doing that, you're not really teaching us anything about the match engine. The truth is that the real secret behind Football Manager, the real trick to it, to making sure that you can min and max, the real secret is to figure out RNG and to figure out what you can do that will give you the best possible results despite the fact that there is this RNG. That's the way to understand this, and that's the way to figure out what strategy works the best. And that's just all there is to it. There's a lot of noise if you play the game otherwise. So there you have it. Love to know what you think. Let me know down below, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.